If you dig the twisted, admire the outlandish, and are enamored by the unusual, you're in the right place. True crime, the supernatural, the unexplained, now you're speaking our language. If you agree, join us as we dive into the darker side. You know, because it's more fun over here. Welcome to Total Conundrum.
Warning, some listeners may find the following content disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Ha 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 ha.
Hey, Traci.
Hey, Jeremy. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm just
hanging out?
I'm just hanging out.
So I was thinking for our listeners, I think what we should do is have a poll.
Yeah.
And this poll, we'll kind of categorize it as murder mysteries, maybe supernatural,
Okay.
ghost stories, and just see what stories our listeners want to hear.
Oh, so like a listener suggestion type thing?
Yeah. And then maybe we'll do some listener stories as well.
Ooh.
Have users submit their stories to our
That would be awesome.
call-in number on our website, or they can send an email? Through contact@totalconundrum.com.
I love that idea. I would love to hear people's true crime, paranormal, all the things, any stories that people have.
I would love it too, because then I wouldn't have to write them. I just fact check them and that's it.
Well, and the other thing I think we should do as well is have listeners send us funny things that they find on the internet that kind of fit in with our true crime and paranormal. So if they find like, stupid criminals or stupid headlines or,
Stupid podcast hosts. That's me, folks.
No. Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. And it's a great way to, bring our listeners in. You know.
I think anything that where we can implement the masses.
Oh, definitely.
We should do that.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
So I was looking at this poll that I just came across today, and there's some funny questions on here that people really get kind of, debate. They can really debate on.
Oh, yeah. Wars have been made on that stuff.
Definitely. Like toilet paper, over or under?
Over or under? I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of do both. It depends on...
You're a monster.
Are we talking about wiping or...
No, not wiping.
Okay, because...
How you put it on the roll.
See, that would be monstrous, but...
Yes.
I really don't... I guess I don't care which way you do your toilet paper. I'm good with it.
You are good with either way, huh?
Yes.
Oh, I'm a total over girl. It has to be over.
I mean, honestly, coming from the janitorial services industry, I have to say I've probably put on toilet paper either way, too.
Oh, my gosh. Monster!
If you say so.
How about pineapple on pizza? Yay or nay?
I'm yay for it, as
Me
long
too.
as it has Canadian bacon.
Yes, it has to have Canadian bacon.
Yeah. If it doesn't have Canadian bacon, no way.
No. Here's another fun one. Could Jack have fit on the door in the movie Titanic?
I think he could have if she would have just moved her butt over a little bit. Jeez, just let poor Jack die already. I mean, really?
I think she could have fit as well.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a buoyancy issue, I guess. The whole thing is, with that cold of water.
she could have fallen off.
She could have fallen off.
And then neither of them could have gotten back
Right.
on. So, yeah, he was being very, and I can never say this word.
Chivalrous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know your answer to this one. Xbox or PlayStation?
Oh, PlayStation all the way.
All the way.
All the way.
This one I've never heard before. Are hot dogs a sandwich?
I've heard that. I guess I would say yeah.
They're a sandwich?
Yeah.
I would say no.
I mean, what are they then?
They're a hot dog
On a bun.
on a bun.
On a bread.
You don't like if I...
I don't.
If I'm making a
I like my hot dogs on buns. I like my hamburgers on buns. I like my tuna fish on bread.
My husband thinks I'm a monster if I'm trying to utilize up buns of any kind and I
It's
make
just
sandwiches out of them.
If it don't moo, it don't belong on a bun.
That is true.
That's
well, peanut butter doesn't moo.
I don't put it on a bun.
Oh, on a bun. Yes, sorry.
don't put it on
was
a
thinking
bun,
on bread. I think bread is bread,
Yeah,
but
I think bread is bread. Buns are buns. That's the debate. See, wars have been made.
oh yes. Last question before we get into it today.
Okay, one more.
Does a straw have one hole or two?
Is that even a real question?
It is a real question on this poll.
I'm going to say there's...
That's a tough one.
I guess that is a tough one because if you think about it, the hole goes all the way through. So, I mean,
Right?
technically, but there's two sides of a straw, two clearly different openings. So I'm going to say two.
And I would say one because it goes all the way through, but I can see.
Either way.
Oh, totally.
So that is a total mindfuck.
That is a total conundrum.
It is a total conundrum.
All right. Do you want me to start off today?
Yes, please. I would love to hear your story.
All right. So I was doing a little research. I wanted to do something based out of our home state, Minnesota.
In Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah, you
Oh,
know, don't
no.
you know? You betcha. I'm gonna bring up the hot dish.
Does it take place in the wintertime too? And it's like negative 400 degrees?
It does.
Oh my God.
It's a true Minnesotan story.
I don't like it already.
Well, it's a cold case, so unfortunately we won't have any answers. But I did want to bring light to the story because, for one reason, I picked it. She was close to the same age that I am. She was born in 1975, as well as I am. I'm aging myself. I don't know if that's a good thing. Maybe we should edit that out. We don't need to know how old I am. I'm a spring chicken. So I'll just go ahead and dive into it.
All right, let's get deep.
All right. So on a cold, snowy night in Minnesota, on January 13th, 1993, Hang Lee, a 17-year-old girl from St. Paul, embarked on a fateful journey. Before leaving, she shared these haunting words with her brother Kua, saying, "If I don't come home, come look for me because I don't trust Nikki."
Oh yeah, that's not ominous.
Ominous?
Ominous.
Oh
at
my
all.
God, I said it.
You said it, and
I
I
can
didn't.
never say that word.
I usually don't mess that one
No.
up. Ominous.
Yeah, usually you're the one correcting me all the time. People, I have a speech impediment, and I don't know where it comes from, but love me anyway. So in this context, Hang was referring to Nikki Lee, a friend of hers who called that night offering to take Hang to a job interview with...
Hey, Kua, bro, dude, like, if I don't come home, that Nikki bitch did it, okay? So why leave the house?
Red flags.
If you don't trust her, why even go with her?
That is a very, very good question.
Just a question. I mean, I don't know the story, but, you know, I'm just saying.
Right. I agree.
And Kua, what are you doing, dude? You hear these words, and you still let her go.
I'm sure he regrets it to this day.
I'm sure he does.
But when, you know, siblings, I know you're an only child, so, I mean, you did have a stepbrother,
I did.
but it's, you know, siblings
So
don't...
I get to beat somebody up.
Siblings don't always listen to each other in that aspect. He may have fought her on it. He may have said something, but being a, you know, teenager who has no fear, she probably just didn't listen if he did say something.
Yeah, probably.
So Hang was referring to Nikki Lee, like we said. Nikki Lee is no relation to Hang. She's a friend of hers who called that night, offering to take Hang to a job interview with her boss, Mark Wallace. Hang Lee, born on October 9th, 1975, was a remarkable individual and a first-generation American. Her parents, refugees from Laos, faced language barriers as they settled into the new country. Hang grew up in a large family, having 13 siblings.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot of boom chicka wow
Boom,
wow.
chicka, wow, wow.
And that's way too many kids for me. But details about her...
Let's get it on.
Totally. But details about her earlier years remain scarce. However, during the time of her disappearance, Hang was described as a sweet and innocent teenager with a passion for heavy metal music. She worked at a local cafe called Wong's Cafe on Rice Street, showcasing her dedication and work ethic. Hang's brother Kua fondly recalls her cool style and her love for heavy metal and 80s music, with Skid Row being her favorite band, My Kind of Girl.
So how old is Hang Lee right now in the story?
This happened in 93, so she would have been approximately 17, I would think.
Okay.
I didn't actually do the math on it, but I'm going off of, because in 93, 94, that was the year I graduated, and she was the same age. So,
okay.
Alongside her musical interests, Hang nurtured a deep love for books and aspired to become a writer. As a senior at St. Paul Highland Park High School, she had dreams of attending the University of Minnesota after graduation, illustrating her determination and ambition.
Wasn't there some other story with that school name in it?
With the St. Paul Highland Park?
Yeah. I'm going to look it up real quick here.
Well, while you look it up, I'll keep going with the story.
Okay.
The morning after Hang Lee's disappearance, her brother grew increasingly worried as he discovered her absence. Despite the snowy conditions, there were no fresh footprints to indicate her return home, and her bed remained unoccupied. Determined to find answers, he approached Nikki Lee at Como Park High School the following day, which I thought this fact was a little weird because they were best friends, but they both attended two different high schools. But St. Paul is a really big town, so maybe it was just, they lived on different sides of St. Paul or something. I never lived in a town that big, so I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I guess I was Highland Park, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
I remember hearing about a mass shooting or something.
Okay.
That name kind of triggered it.
Triggered that future story you're going to probably cover?
Maybe. I think maybe I will.
Well, finding Nikki in the school cafeteria during breakfast, he calmly asked about Hang's whereabouts. To his surprise, Nikki responded abruptly, claiming ignorance and stating she had no knowledge of Hang's location or what he was referring to. Hang's parents did not report her missing until the 15th, as they were unfamiliar with the appropriate procedures to follow. When they finally filed a missing persons report a few days later, the police initially categorized Hang as a runaway, considering her previous history of running away. Why does everybody always classify it as a runaway?
I'm not sure.
It's so
Lazy
frustrating.
cops, I'm assuming.
They lose so much time in being able to solve these cases because it should just be outlawed. I'm going to create Traci's law and nobody's a runaway. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
However, it was noted that no clothing was missing from her room. Her wallet was left behind. Sergeant Bill Snyder, one of the investigating officers, mentioned that Nikki Lee claimed to have dropped Hang off with some of her quote-unquote white friends, leading her to assume that Hang had run away with them. So again, not a thing was missing from her room. What teenager leaves without a wallet, makeup? I mean, most teenagers would have their makeup.
Yeah, teenage girl walking out of the house without makeup. There's something wrong.
There is something wrong. So unfortunately, as days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, the agonizing wait continued for Hang's family, who had no information about her whereabouts. Sadly, the police showed little action in the case. Now, wait for it. For a prolonged 6 months.
Jeez.
6 months this girl was missing.
It's too bad Anonymous wasn't around back then, huh?
Right? Well, and I don't even know if they would have been able to do anything with that case because...
Well, they could have put pressure on the cops to actually get off their butts and do something.
But the other thing is her parents weren't pushing with it because they didn't know what to do. They were...
Well, they didn't speak the language.
Exactly. I mean, they don't know the protocols, the language, any of that. So these poor people are just hoping that the cops will do something, but they don't know what to do,
Right.
So Hang's last paycheck remained untouched. She did not access her savings. In a state of helplessness, Hang's family found themselves trapped in a holding pattern, unable to offer a reward or garner media attention for her story due to their limited financial resources and lack of connections. Their only recourse was to persistently distribute missing person flyers, hoping that someone would come forward with information about their beloved daughter.
What did the parents do for work again?
It
didn't say.
No, and I didn't dig too deep into the parents.
Yeah, I mean, not speaking the language, then probably financial issues.
And they had 13 children, too.
Maybe a reluctancy to actually go to the cops. I don't know,
I mean, we don't know what their immigration status was or anything like that. That could have been something that worried them, too. I'm assuming, they'd been here for a while, so I'm assuming that was all in check. But again, they just don't know the ways of the police here in the States.
Yeah. It just seems odd that I don't know. I mean, I guess the story doesn't specifically say if they went to the cops or,
Yeah, it doesn't give the like if they kept pursuing it.
Yeah. I mean, they could have been pressuring them and they just weren't listening.
That could be too. Or not understanding them.
Yeah. And, probably back then translators,
right.
to translate was probably harder to find.
Definitely. Well, after an intensified investigation into Hang's disappearance, the police shifted their focus towards Nikki and conducted another interview. This time, under further questioning, Nikki finally admitted her involvement in the events leading up to Hang's vanishing. She disclosed that she had taken Hang to a job interview with her boss, identified as Mark Stephen Wallace. Mark Stephen Wallace, a 30-year-old, was the owner of a small painting business located on the intersection of Iroquois Avenue and Stillwater Avenue in St. Paul. He resided in the upstairs apartment above the business establishment. Nikki worked as a receptionist for Wallace at the time. And I will have pictures of all of these people on the blog, but take a moment and go look at this Mark Wallace guy.
Oh, yeah. He is a freaky one.
Those eyes. The eyes are...
Yeah, I would throw him in jail just for that fact.
They burn a hole in my soul.
He looks like the devil.
He definitely does.
The what devil?
Well, according to Nikki's statement to the officers, Mark Wallace had approached her with an unusual request. He inquired if she knew anyone that was seeking employment. Nikki found it peculiar since Wallace did not have sufficient work even for her, let alone another employee. However, she still recommended Hang to him, as she knew that Hang was actively searching for another job, and Wallace offered a higher pay compared to her current position at the cafe. During her conversation with the officers, Nikki admitted to previously lying about Hang's disappearance, as she initially believed Hang had run away and she wanted to protect her. Well, girl, it's been 6 months. Don't you think that she probably would have come back or resurfaced or something?
Yeah, kind of odd that she would wait that long.
Very odd. She further revealed that Wallace had instructed her to remain silent about the incident. According to Nikki, Wallace picked them up from her house in his white pickup truck and drove them to his office where Hang was interviewed. After the interview, Wallace assured them that he would bring them back home. However, when they left, Wallace was now driving a light-colored Chevy Cavalier instead of his usual white truck. Nikki found this change in vehicles peculiar, but it is worth noting that Nikki's recollection of the events inconsistent regarding the description of the vehicle Wallace used to drive off with Hang. This inconsistency would be attributed to her memory lapses or her fear of potential consequences if Wallace discovered her cooperation with the police. Upon diving into Wallace's criminal history, the police made a disturbing discovery.
They got off their ass finally?
They did. He had been convicted of 2 counts of rape and faced several other allegations that never resulted in any charges. Shocker. During their investigation, they came across a statement from a woman in St. Paul who claimed...
The cops did something? Wait, I just realized that. They got off their ass finally?
They did. Let's see if they continue. During their investigation, they came across a statement from a woman in St. Paul who claimed to have been offered a job at a radio station by Wallace.
So he's a DJ now? Goes from painting?
Yeah. I guess
record producer?
I guess he is a jack of all trades.
I guess he is.
While sensing something was wrong about the job offer, she contacted the police, who promptly arranged a meeting with Wallace. The exact reason for the subsequent arrest remains unclear, but it is mentioned that shoelaces were found in Wallace's pocket during this encounter, and when questioned, Wallace allegedly admitted to intending to use those shoelaces to restrain the woman. So basically, to kind of sum up that paragraph a little bit, this woman sensed that something was wrong. She went to the police, so they sent somebody else to the interview in her place. And when they went there, they could tell that something wasn't right either, and so they apprehended him at that point. And so with, him having the shoelaces in his pocket, and he flat out admitted that he was going to use it to restrain her, it goes back to the always trust your gut. Your gut is not going to let you down. And with her doing that, she probably saved her life.
Yeah.
So
and don't go with Nikki.
No.
That's the moral of the story.
Do not ever go with Nikki.
Trust your gut, people.
That's right.
Trust your gut.
Following the initial accusations against Wallace, 2 additional women bravely came forward with their own accounts. One of them was enticed by Wallace's offer of a ride home from a bus stop, while the other was approached under the, again, him using the offer of a job opportunity, mirroring the experiences of Hang and the previous woman. There were also reports from other women, although their ability to positively identify Wallace was hindered by the presence of a mask worn by the perpetrator. Eventually, Wallace was convicted on rape charges and sentenced to serve 4 years in prison.
4 whole years. Wow.
Yeah, and he was released in 1991. If they had put this piece of shit away for an actual legitimate time, Hank could probably still be here to this day.
She probably would be.
Frustrating.
Legal system, I tell you. Everything fails us.
So with a sense of urgency, the police swiftly obtained search warrants for Wallace's residence, his office, and truck. However, the passage of time presented a significant challenge as the crucial 48 window had long elapsed, making the investigation more challenging after the 6 months had passed. Despite conducting extensive searches, no significant evidence was found. Wallace claimed that he had dropped Hang off at the cafe where she worked, but there was no concrete proof to support his statement. Furthermore, Wallace chose not to cooperate with the investigation and sought legal representation, so he lawyered up.
Of course he did.
This left the officers with limited options and their hands tied. While a few tips were received, none of them provided any substantial leads to follow in the case. In 2009, 16 years after Hang's disappearance, retired Sergeant Kevin Navarra received an intriguing call from a concerned neighbor. The neighbor reported a suspicious incident involving a rapidly constructed, detached garage at Wallace's mother's former residence. While Wallace had grown up in that house, it was believed that he occasionally stayed there during his adult years and eventually inherited it after his mother's passing. Unfortunately, Wallace lost the house to foreclosure in 2009, leading to his eviction. Prompted by the neighbor's tip, the police decided to investigate further. They brought in cadaver dogs to search the premises, and to their surprise, 2 out of the 3 dogs repeatedly signaled the presence of something beneath the ground near the garage wall. Encouraged.
So what was the idea behind the cadaver dogs anyways? Did somebody find something?
Well, the next door neighbor alerted the police because he quickly put up a garage.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the neighbor kind of knew his criminal history. And so his thought and him putting that garage up so fast, and with the house being in foreclosure, that maybe he was trying to hide a body, maybe Hang or another person, or...
I mean, probably, but wild theory kind of,
Yeah, I suppose. Well, with no construction going on for a long time at that residence, his mom passes away, he inherits the house, but he's losing it, but yet he still constructs a garage on the property.
Yeah, but I guess it depends on, how he's losing it, if he has the chance to actually sell it before it goes into
like a short sale or something. Yeah, I'm not sure.
And then adding a garage to it, which would be odd, but, would also increase the value of the property,
That is true.
So just weird with just that as being an indicator of, there must be a body in the ground there.
Well, and I suppose the police were probably watching him too. So, it's just an oddity of, this thing going up like that. Maybe he didn't have his permits or, could be something with that too. I'm not sure. Again, not a lot of information was given on it. But they did signal that there was a presence of something beneath the ground near the garage wall. So encouraged by these indications, the authorities planned to excavate the area. However, they first opted to drill holes in the concrete to assess the situation. Strangely enough, the dogs lost interest after the drilling, and their earlier signals could no longer be collaborated. Regrettably, this setback prevented any further progress in the investigation. Even after all these years, the unresolved matter of the garage continues to trouble Sergeant Navarra, who remains unable to shake off the nagging suspicion associated with it. In 2016, the paths of the police and Wallace intersected once again when he evaded a routine traffic stop. Police immediately grew concerned as they noticed a young girl with him, raising suspicion that she might be in danger. Determined to ensure her safety, the authorities tracked down Wallace to a hotel room in Woodbury, Minnesota. With urgency and caution, they forcefully entered the room and discovered a young woman frozen in fear. The woman revealed that she was a former high school friend of Wallace's daughter's, and she had sought refuge with him as she had no stable place to call home. However, her temporary arrangement took a dark turn as Wallace became progressively verbally and physically abusive towards her. Eventually, he resorted to kidnapping her and holding her against her will within the confines of the Woodbury hotel room. The young woman, visibly malnourished and covered in bruises, had endured a disturbing ordeal. During this ordeal, the young woman recounted a chilling conversation with Wallace. He mentioned that he had killed a woman in St. Paul, coldly stating, "She entered my business and never came out." Furthermore, he boasted about his knowledge of cleaning up blood and the art of dismemberment. So if he is boasting about these skills and his art of dismemberment. Who are his other victims other than Hang Lee?
Mm-hmm. He's probably got some, though.
This man is disturbing.
Crazy.
Very. You can see it in his eyes.
See it in his eyes.
As a result of these heinous crimes, Wallace was convicted and sentenced to 54 months in prison.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
really gave it to him, huh?
Right? I mean, can we put this guy away for life? Please. Presently, he's serving his sentence in Moose Lake, Minnesota, while the courageous young woman continues to rebuild her life after surviving such a traumatic experience. In 2017, it's been a long 24 years since Hang Lee vanished, leaving her family in a continuous state of waiting and hoping for her return. Despite their continuing hope, the passage of time gradually forced them to confront the grim reality that Hang was gone forever. Kua Lee, Hang's brother, shared his inner turmoil with the Twin Cities Pioneer Press, admitting the difficulty that he faced in officially accepting his sister's death. In April 2017, a significant moment arrived for the Lee family as they organized an emotional spirit release ceremony in honor of Hang. This ceremony was deeply meaningful and a symbolic act of letting go and finding closure, allowing Hang's spirit to be freed from the earthly realm. Though the pain of Hang's absence persisted, the Lee family, through the spirit release ceremony, embraced the bittersweet task of bidding farewell to their beloved sister and daughter. It was a moving occasion that marked both the recognition of Hang's eternal absence and the beginning of a healing journey for her grieving family. If you or anyone you know has any information about the disappearance of Hang Lee, don't hesitate to contact the appropriate authorities. Hang has been missing for 30 years. Her family deserves answers. Hang deserves to be put to rest. The St. Paul Police Department can be contacted at 612-291-1111 and reference the case number 930-07298. The Ramsey County Sheriff's Office can be reached at 651-266-9393. Let's bring Hang home.
Bring her home.
So what do you have for us today, Jeremy?
I am going to be talking about the Murdaugh Murders.
Ooh.
So I'm going to start back a little ways at the beginning of all this craziness. And this is the event that took place that started everything.
I am so excited to hear this.
In a devastating event on the Buford River, a night of celebration turned into tragedy as a boat crash claimed the life of 19-year-old Mallory Beach. The events unfolded on February 23, 2019, when Alex Murdaugh's 19-year-old son, Paul Murdaugh, took his family's boat out for a night of partying with friends. On that particular night, there were 3 couples present. The first couple consisted of Paul Murdaugh and his girlfriend, Morgan Daughtry. The second couple was Miley Altman and her boyfriend, Connor Cook. Lastly, there was Anthony Cook, accompanied by his girlfriend, Mallory Beach. Despite being underage, the 6 passengers on board managed to acquire alcohol with ease, as some of them resorted to using fake or borrowed IDs. According to their friends' later accounts, the night commenced on Murdaugh Island, a local destination for the private residence owned by the Murdaugh family. Departing from there, Paul Murdaugh took the helm and steered the boat to another destination, an oyster roast on Pocky Island. Based on GPS data retrieved from the Murdaugh boat, they reached the dock around 8 p.m. and remained there until approximately midnight. Subsequently, as recounted by their friends to investigators, the river had become enveloped in darkness and fog. Undeterred, Paul set sail once more, directing the boat towards Buford. According to investigators, it is reported that Murdaugh and Connor Cook entered a bar located on the picturesque Beaufort waterfront, while the remaining members of the group chose to spend their time at a nearby park, waiting for them to return. Passenger Miley Altman later recounted her experience to investigators, stating he was extremely insistent on going up and getting a shot. Altman's statement highlights Murdaugh's persistent behavior during that time.
Yeah, because that's the thing he needed at that time.
Yeah,
he needed
more
alcohol. With his borrowed ID.
Yeah. He's going to let his Timmy out here soon.
Oh, Timmy.
Surveillance footage obtained from the bar depicted Murdaugh and Connor swiftly consuming 2 shots, not one, but two shots each within a few minutes, after which they rejoined their friends at approximately 1:15 a.m. The video evidence captured the swiftness of their actions as they indulged in the shots before reuniting with the rest of the group. As the 6 friends boarded the boat, cameras positioned on the dock captured the moment. Among this footage, the last known images of Mallory Beach depict her and her boyfriend, Anthony Cook, walking down the dock together, exuding a sweet and affectionate demeanor. The surveillance footage captured at this poignant scene forever preserved their tender stroll before their subsequent events.
When you watch that video, knowing what's going to happen, it is absolutely heart-wrenching.
Yeah, very sad. Very sad. Passenger testimonies reveal that Paul Murdaugh's behavior aboard the boat grew increasingly concerning and alarming. The statements provided by fellow passengers shed light on the mounting worries and apprehensions arising from Murdaugh's actions during the voyage. During the investigation, Altman disclosed to investigators Paul was just driving, doing donuts. She further mentioned that at a certain point, Connor Cook took over the wheel, assuming control of the boat's navigation. Altman's statement provides insight into Paul Murdaugh's reckless driving behavior and the subsequent intervention by Connor Cook during the incident. Altman recollects the events, stating, Connor starts driving for a while, but then Paul interrupts him, insisting, no, this is my boat. Let me drive.
Timmy came out.
Timmy's out. She continued, I distinctly remember noticing the bridge approaching as this was happening. Altman's account highlights the exchange between Connor and Paul regarding the boat's control and her awareness of the imminent bridge ahead.
Ugh.
At approximately 2:20 a.m., an agitated Connor Cook dialed 911. In a state of distress, he urgently conveyed, we've been involved in a boat crash in Archer Creek. There are 6 of us, and 1 person is currently missing. Cook's call to emergency services conveyed the gravity of the situation, emphasizing the boat collision and the unsettling absence of one of their companions.
I could not imagine, at the age that I am right now, experiencing something like that, let alone being that young and dealing with that kind of tragedy.
Yeah, that would be freaky. But you got to remember they're all young kids too, and we all did stupid stuff when we were young, you know?
Right, unfortunately.
It could have been any of us. Luckily, you know, nothing ever happened. But so among the initial responders was former Beaufort County Sheriff's Deputy Stephen Domino, who arrived at the scene. In an exclusive interview with Baptiste and 48 Hours, Domino vividly recounted the scene, the chaos that unfolded before him. There was an overwhelming atmosphere of tears, fear, shock, and genuine concern for their friend. Domino shared, Mallory Beach's whereabouts remaining unknown, and her boyfriend Anthony Cook was visibly distraught as he engaged in conversation with the deputy, ultimately identifying Paul Murdaugh as the boat's driver. Domino's recollection offered a glimpse into the emotional turmoil experienced by the individuals involved and the crucial information shared during their investigation. A recorded dashcam video, Anthony Cook urgently queried the deputy, "Are you familiar with Alex Murdaugh?" "That's his son." Deputy Domino recounted to 48 Hours that it was during this exchange that Cook insinuated that they could not pursue legal action against them.
Because he was untouchable, because he's a Murdaugh.
Yeah, he was a Murdaugh. That's when he indicated that he couldn't be held accountable. Domino disclosed, shedding light on the suggestion that there may be potential influence or immunity due to their connection with Alex Murdaugh.
Which is asinine.
Yeah. After an exhaustive search conducted by law enforcement officials and dedicated volunteers, it took a total of 8 days before the body of Mallory Beach was finally found and recovered. The relentless efforts put forth during the extensive search period highlight the determination and commitment to those that were involved in the mission to bring closure to Mallory's tragic incident. Alex Murdaugh's behavior attracted a lot of attention after the crash. And this is where it starts. This is his first fuck-up.
Dun, 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 dun.
According to statements from witnesses at the hospital, Alex was going from room to room, attempting to speak with his son's injured friends. According to Mallory's aunt, she later became aware of certain details regarding the events that transpired on that fateful night. Murdaugh was adamant about not letting anyone else operate the boat Rivas shared.
I mean, Timmy was not going to allow anybody to take the control from him.
Yeah, and Rivas must be the aunt, I'm assuming. However, all the young passengers have recounted pleading with him to stop and pleading to be let off the boat. Regrettably, he refused their pleas, and it deeply saddens me to think of how terrified Mallory must have been. The aunt's revelation unveils the distressing circumstances surrounding Mallory's final moments, leaving a profound impact on her loved ones. During a deposition, Connor Cook revealed that Alex Murdaugh had instructed him not to disclose the identity of the driver. Cook testified that Murdaugh explicitly told him, "You don't need to tell anybody who is driving." Furthermore, a hospital security guard provided a statement confirming that he overheard Alex Murdaugh speaking on his cell phone saying, "She's gone, don't worry." These accounts shed light on the actions and statements of Alex Murdaugh, suggesting potential attempts to conceal information and expressing a concerned sentiment regarding the situation.
I mean, obviously, this family has no regard for people in general, but women, because I don't remember if you covered it or not, but during that boat ride, he physically assaulted his girlfriend. He hit her, and now, Papa Murdaugh is like, "Don't worry about it, she's gone." I mean, this is a child's life that you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about him hitting her. Are you talking about Paul hitting his girlfriend?
Yeah, on the boat.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about on the boat, but he's hit her before.
Well, maybe I'm remembering wrong. I thought in the documentary they had said that he went back and struck her because she was trying to get him to stop driving.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But
It
I
could
could be recalling it wrong too. Allegedly, we'll say.
Okay, allegedly, we'll go with that. Upon Paul Murdaugh's arrival at the hospital, medical personnel conducted a blood alcohol level test, revealing a measurement of 0.24.
Holy, and that was probably hours later.
Yeah, which is 3 times the legal limit. This indicates that Paul was significantly intoxicated at the time.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, toasted.
Absolutely.
Emphasizing the severity of his impairment and the potential impact it may have had on his actions leading up to the incident. Damn Timmy.
Oh, beyond Timmy at that point, I would think. Probably Timmy's twin brother, Jimmy.
Oh boy, Timmy and Jimmy all together in one. On March 29, 2019, Mallory Beach's family took legal action by filing a wrongful death lawsuit against members of the Murdaugh family. Tragically, 3 weeks later, on what should have been Mallory Beach's 20th birthday, Paul Murdaugh faced serious charges, including multiple felonies. These charges included boating under the influence, which resulted in Mallory Beach's death and caused severe bodily harm to 2 other passengers. Paul Murdaugh pleaded not guilty to all the charges brought against him, setting the stage for a legal battle to determine the truth surrounding the incident. This particular narrative, widely known among locals as the region of South Carolina, referred to as the Low Country, is often regarded as the symbolic downfall of the renowned Murdaugh family. With a legacy spanning over 85 years as solicitors, holding the esteemed position of elected chief prosecutor, the Murdaughs established a formidable reputation of power and influence. While Alex Murdaugh chose not to continue the ancestral tradition initiated by his great-grandfather, he maintained a significant degree of influence within legal circles. He contributed as a volunteer in the solicitor's office and served as a partner in his family's esteemed law firm, Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Ellsroth, and Dietrich. Thereby,
say that 5 times fast.
yeah, I can't even say it once fast. Thereby upholding the family's prominent presence. Alex Murdaugh's legal connection to his subsequent actions following the tragic crash had become significant factors in a various legal proceedings. These include the wrongful death lawsuit filed by the Beach family and a petition submitted on behalf of Connor Cook seeking an investigation into allegations of collusion and civil conspiracy. The involvement of Alex Murdaugh brought both throughout his connections with the legal system and his conduct during and after the incident has sparked legal action that aimed to unravel the truth and potential misconduct surrounding the case. Despite being charged in connection with Mallory Beach's death, Paul Murdaugh never had the opportunity to face a trial. Tragically, on June 7th, 2021, he and his mother, Maggie Murdaugh, lost their lives in an incident that unfolded. This unforeseen turn of events marked the end of any potential legal proceedings for Paul, leaving the case unresolved and shrouded in tragedy. Currently, Alex Murdaugh, a former prominent figure in a South Carolina legal dynasty, is standing trial for the murder of his wife and son. Prosecutors allege that Alex fatally shot his wife, 52-year-old Maggie Murdaugh, as well as their 22-year-old son, Paul, who was facing personal challenges. These tragic events unfolded on June 7th, 2021, and now form the central focus of the ongoing trial proceedings against Alex Murdaugh.
That whole situation, my mind goes 100 miles an hour thinking about that situation at the dog kennels and stuff. You might be getting more. Are you going more into it, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm only at the beginning here.
Okay, I'll sit back and keep my mouth shut.
There's a lot more to go here.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right. For nearly a century, the Murdaugh family, a notable demonic.
That's fitting.
That is fitting. Democratic dynasty held significant influence in both the realm of judiciary and politics, commanding immense power. However, their outstanding dominion started to decline following Paul's involvement in a fatal boat accident in 2019, leading to a cascade of legal actions and the potential exposure of his father's intricate financial maneuverings. This pivotal event marked the turning point in the Murdaugh family's supremacy, signifying a shifting landscape that posed threats to their once unassailable position. So now I'm going to take you to July 8th, 2015.
Okay.
And this is the death of Stephen Smith, which kind of doesn't really tie into the case at this point, but
Could in the
this
future.
This is something that they're looking into. So tragically, Stephen Smith, a former classmate of Buster Murdaugh, Alex Murdaugh's eldest son, was discovered lifeless in the middle of a rural road in Hampton, South Carolina. The 19-year-old's vehicle was found 3 miles away, having run out of gas. This distressing incident raises questions and concerns surrounding the circumstances of Stephen Smith's untimely demise, leaving the community and investigators seeking answers and justice. An autopsy concluded that Smith died from blunt force trauma caused by a hit and run, but his mother, Sandy Smith, believes he was murdered. Diverging from the conclusions drawn in the initial autopsy, Highway Patrol investigators held a contrasting viewpoint and actively pursued various leads regarding the tragic death of Stephen Smith. Speculation arose suggesting a potential secret affair between Buster Murdaugh and Smith, as well as insinuations that the Murdaugh family might have been involved in the killing. Despite these efforts, the case remains unresolved, leaving unanswered questions and a lingering sense of uncertainty.
I think I remember someone speculating that it was the way he was hit or the way he died. It was like blunt force trauma to the head. Man, I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I watched that documentary.
I think there was
now.
a number of rumors, like some were saying that it didn't appear that it was a hit and run at all, that
right.
he was beat up maybe by a group of people.
And he was found in the middle of the road and not on the side of the road. And
right.
Oh, poor kid and his family.
In 2021, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, made a significant announcement revealing their decision to launch a fresh investigation into the mysterious circumstances surrounding Smith's demise. This decision was prompted by evidence that had surfaced during the inquiry into the members of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. However, the specific details regarding the nature of the evidence were not disclosed by the agency. The reopening of the case by SLED signifies renewed effort to shed light on the truth and potentially uncover crucial information that could provide a breakthrough in the investigation. The developments in this ongoing probe bring a glimmer of hope for resolution and justice.
I hope so.
Me too. While the search for answers continues in the quest to uncover the full story behind Stephen Smith's tragic and unresolved death. So now I take you to February 26, 2018. Death of the Murdaugh family's housekeeper. Death just follows these people.
Glad I never met him.
Tragedy struck when Gloria Satterfield, the Murdaugh family's longtime nanny and housekeeper, suffered a fatal fall down a staircase at the Mazzilli residence. Approximately 10 months later, prompted by Alex's encouragement, her family pursued a wrongful death claim. It was during this legal process that an attorney representing Satterfield's son made a startling discovery. Insurance policies had dispersed over $4 million in payouts, which Alex and his associates were allegedly suspected of embezzling for their own benefit. In a significant turn of events, Alex Murdaugh was apprehended at a drug rehabilitation center in Florida in October of 2021 and charged with embezzlement in relation to the funds taken from Satterfield's sons. Since his arrest, Alex has remained incarcerated. In a confession of judgment, he agreed to repay the stolen amount of $4.3 million. The case took another intriguing twist when the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, announced their intent to investigate Satterfield's death and revealed plans to exhume her body. These actions highlight the seriousness with which law enforcement authorities are approaching the case, aiming to uncover the truth surrounding Satterfield's tragic demise and address any potential wrongdoing that may have occurred. The unfolding events surrounding Gloria Satterfield's death and the subsequent embezzlement charges against Alex Murdaugh have captivated public attention, representing a complex web of legal and ethical implications. As the investigation proceeds and the legal process unfolds, the pursuit of justice and the search of answers continue to be at the forefront, with the ultimate goal of bringing closure to the Satterfield family and ensuring accountability for any misdeeds committed. So now I'm taking you to the night of the murders, June 7th, 2021. The double murder.
The double whata?
The double murder. It came out Murdaugh.
It was a combination between Murdoch and murder, which again, fitting.
It works. In a devastating and horrifying turn of events, Alex Murdaugh, overwhelmed by the grief and anguish made by a frantic call to 911 shortly after 10 p.m., revealed the shocking discovery of his wife and his son's lifeless body near the dog kennels on their expansive 1,700-acre hunting estate in Islington, South Carolina.
Kurt would be so jealous.
Oh, yeah, big time. They had all the guns, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go figure. Throughout sobs and desperation, Alex pleaded for immediate assistance in informing the dispatcher of the grave situation. "I need the police and an ambulance immediately. My wife and child have been shot badly," he cried out. The grim details unfolded. Paul had sustained a gunshot to the chest, followed by another that entered his left shoulder, passed through his neck, and severing his brain from his body.
Wowzers.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Maggie's lifeless form lay face down in the mud, approximately 30 feet away, having endured at least 4 rifle shots, including one that was executed mercilessly at the back of her head.
So they wanted to make sure they finished the job.
Oh, definitely.
This whole incident leaves so many questions rambling around in my head. Why the different guns? You know, we know that he was there because of the video that
showed him at the dog kennels.
Right.
Yeah, and the other question is so Paul was killed with a shotgun at fairly close range, and then Maggie was killed with a rifle.
And you know that they had to be right there because they gave her the execution style shot to the back of the head.
Right. So he would have had to walk up to her at that point, and then...
this just always... I've had so many different scenarios. Is it, did somebody for revenge or for something that, revenge for something that he did or something that the family did, or did he hire somebody to help him do this? Because I know he tried to create the alibi about being at visiting his ailing parent and
yeah, he had the whole day set up, and obviously there was some kind of intent. So it was like, it was a planned thing. And the only question I have is, how can you shoot your son twice with a shotgun, then quickly pick up a rifle and shoot your wife that's 30 feet away and shoot her multiple times?
Right. And then even if he staged the scene beforehand, how are you going to anticipate where everybody's going to be positioned and
right,
standing?
Everybody moving around, and that's all within 30 seconds. This whole thing took place within 30 seconds is what they say.
Right, which is not a long period of time.
Not a long time at all. So, I don't think that anybody else did it. I think that he planned it, but it just kind of seems like maybe he would have needed some help to pull something like that off.
And his one drug dealer buddy was in jail at the time.
Yeah, he was already in jail, so he couldn't have helped with it.
Inquiring minds want to know, what do you guys think? Go on to our Facebook page and let us know what your theories are. I'm curious to see how other people feel that this whole situation played out.
Unless maybe he set it up to where, he had everything laid out and he knew exactly where Paul and Maggie were going to be in that 30 seconds, and I'm sure being a hunter, he's probably
a pretty good shot.
Pretty good marksman,
Yeah, didn't he compete in some of those competitions where they did multiple. You do multiple different targets and different
multi-gun
yeah
competitions or something.
Yeah, well, there you go. That again, let us know what your thoughts are.
Yeah. So the property located at 4147 Moselle Road served as Alex Murdaugh's primary residence, encompassing both Colton and Hamilton counties. As the initial shock settled, Alex Murdaugh shared his first account of the horrific incident with deputies at the scene. He suggested a potential connection between the gruesome killings and the ongoing litigation surrounding the boat crash, which had plagued his son. This is a long story. My son was in a boat wreck. He's been getting threats. Alex conveyed to Sergeant Daniel Green in body camera footage. I know that's what it is, stated Alex. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division SLED swiftly assumed control of the investigation, assuming that the task of unraveling the dark and complex circumstances surrounding the tragic deaths of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh. As the authorities delved into the investigation, the community and the nation at large were left grappling with profound shock and an overwhelming desire for justice. As the search for answers and the pursuit of truth intensified under the jurisdiction of SLED, so September 4th, 2021, Alex claims he is ambushed and shot in the head. In a shocking and bewildering turn of events, Alex Murdaugh placed a distressing call to 911, reporting that he had been shot in the head while changing a tire on Old Secondhatchee Road. Salkehatchie Road.
Sounds good to me.
Not far from the scene of the Moselle crime, according to Alex's account, an unimaginable gunman in a passing truck was responsible for the attack. However, the circumstances surrounding the incident soon took a dramatic and unsettling twist. Shortly after the incident, Alec made public statements revealing his decision to leave the family's practice and seek treatment for a long-standing battle with opioid addiction. These revelations added a layer of complexity to an already perplexing situation. Unbeknownst to many, Alex had been forced out of the law firm the day prior to the shooting, as he faced allegations of embezzling millions of dollars from the firm and misappropriating clients' settlements. While Alex's lawyer, Jim Griffin, claimed that his client suffered a skull fracture and hemorrhaging as a result of the shooting, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, characterized the wound as superficial. As the investigation progressed, the truth gradually emerged. Alex eventually confessed to orchestrating the shooting, revealing that he had enlisted the help of a former client named Curtis Edward Smith, known as Cousin Eddie, to stage his own murder. The motive behind the elaborate plan was to allow his surviving son, Buster, to collect a substantial $10 million life insurance policy.
The whole thing with this blows my mind too, because I'm sorry. Obviously, he had too much wealth and not enough knowledge, but the vehicle he was driving, the Beamer, has those tires that if you hit something or something gets in your tire, I don't know, what do they call those? The no flat tires? So they don't go flat. You have enough time to get somewhere to, get them repaired or changed or whatever. Yeah. So there was no flat tire.
Well, the shocking part to me is that in this story, they call it an elaborate plan.
Where's the elaborate part?
But whatever. So both Alex and Smith were indicted on charges of fraud and conspiracy in connection with the Murdaugh and murder. I tell you, they just go hand in hand.
They really do, and they're a tongue twister.
Yeah. Murder-suicide scheme. However, their legal troubles did not end there. In June of 2022, they faced additional felony charges, including the distribution and purchase of the narcotic oxycodone. The South Carolina Supreme Court recognized the severity of Alex's actions, revoked his law license due to egregious ethical misconduct. Alex did not contest this decision.
I would hope not.
I would hope not, too. Further cementing the consequences of his actions.
This is kind of like one of those, and wait, there's more.
Oh, there's always more. I mean, this thing is still going on.
And I'm sure it'll continue to go on and more things will be found out.
Yeah, probably for years. And then you have also the upcoming... Well, I'll get into that.
Okay.
So the story of Alex Murdaugh's fall from grace and the web of deceit that entangled him continues to captivate the public's attention. The once prominent legal figure now stood as a stark reminder of stupidity. Nope, sorry, I added that in. Reminder of devastating consequences of addiction, greed, and the unraveling of a once respected family legacy. So now we move on to July to December of 2022. Alex charged with wife and son's murder and other crimes. On July 14th, Alex Murdaugh was formally indicted on 2 counts of murder in relation to the tragic slayings of his wife Maggie and his son Paul. Despite the gravity of his charges, Alex maintained his plea of not guilty and continued to receive support from his son Buster, his sister Lynn Murdaugh Gauthier, and his brother John Marvin and Randy Murdaugh. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson assumed the responsibility of prosecuting the case, which garnered significant attention and scrutiny. However, the legal troubles for Alex Murdaugh did not stop there. Approximately 6 months after the murder charges were filed, a state grand jury issued a separate indictment, this time on 9 counts of tax evasion. The indictment alleged that Alex failed to report an astonishing $6,954,639 of illegally earned income between 2011 and 2019.
Oh, that's like pennies.
Pennies.
What are they worried about?
Not even anything to worry about.
Drop in the bucket.
Yeah, resulting in a tax liability of $486,000. These additional charges served as a modest addition to the already extensive list of 90 state financial charges.
Modest.
90 state financial crimes charges that Alex faced, spanning across 18 indictments. These indictments primarily revolved around schemes to defraud victims of a staggering $9,789,447. Drop in the bucket. The accumulation of charges painted a troubling picture of Alex Murdaugh's alleged fraudulent activities and financial misconduct. The legal proceedings against him continued to unfold, capturing the attention of both the public and legal experts alike. The weight of the charges and the potential consequences he faced hung over the once prominent figure, marking a significant fall from grace for a man who was once entrenched in a powerful and respected legal dynasty.
You mean fall on your face?
Big time. So January 23rd of 2023, Alex's Murdaugh murder trial begins. After a meticulous jury selection process spanning 2 days, a jury consisted of 8 women and 4 men were finally chosen for the highly anticipated murder trial. The trial took place in Colton County Courthouse in Walterboro, South Carolina, under the guidance of Judge Clifton Newman. Many regarded this trial as one of the most significant and eagerly awaited in the state's history, given its high-profile nature and the gravity of the charges against Alex Murdaugh. Prior to the trial proceedings, a portrait of Alex's late grandfather, Randolph Buster Murdaugh Jr., a respected figure in the legal community as the 14th Circuit solicitor, was removed from the courtroom. This act symbolizes the separation of the current trial from the family's historical legacy within the legal realm. On January 25th, prosecutor Creighton Walter delivered his compelling opening statement, unveiling new details to the public for the first time. He disclosed that the investigators had discovered a blue raincoat with traces of gum residue that Alex had allegedly concealed at his mother's residence a week after the murders. Walters also cast doubt on Alex's alibi, presenting video evidence that placed him at the dog kennels merely 3 minutes before the slayings. Contradictory Alex's claim of never being present at the crime scene, Walters confidently asserted, "The evidence will show he was there. He was at the murder scene." Dick Harpoonian, a Democratic state senator and a member of Alex's defense team, focused his opening statements on the shocking injuries sustained by the victims. He aimed to challenge the notion that a father with a loving relationship could commit such a gruesome act, emphasizing the unimaginable nature of the crime. Describing Paul's injuries in vivid detail, the gases from the shot literally exploded his head like a watermelon.
Oh my God.
Hit by a sledgehammer. Harpoopian said of Paul's injuries. All that was left was the front of his face. Everything else was gone.
Oh.
His brain exploded out of his head, hit the ceiling in the shed, and dropped to his feet. Horrendous, horrible butchering. He also raised concerns about the investigative approach of the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, accusing them of prematurely fixating on Alex as the prime suspect instead of diligently searching for the true perpetrators. The courtroom atmosphere was charged with intensity and emotion as the trial commenced, with both the prosecution and the defense presenting their arguments in a case that captivated the attention of the entire state. The outcome of the trial and the subsequent revelations would undoubtedly shape the perception of the Murdaugh family and leaving a lasting impact on the community. Now we're into week 1, trial revelations.
Oh.
Alex was clean. During the trial, jurors were confronted with graphic testimony and disturbing images depicted the severe injuries suffered by Maggie and Paul as a result of the shooting. The courtroom was filled with the unsettling details of their tragic death, with both victims discovered laying in pools of blood, surrounded by fragments of brain matter and tissue. First responders who testified revealed that when they arrived at the scene, Alex showed no visible signs of blood on his person, despite his claims of having touched their bodies to check for signs of life. He openly admitted to attempting to roll Paul over and handling his son's cell phone. Throughout the testimony, it was noted that Alex was wearing a white t-shirt and shorts.
Oh, I just had a thought about that.
What's that?
I think he was trying to use his face to open the cell phone to maybe delete the video.
Oh, Paul?
Mm-hmm. Paul's video.
Could be, yeah. Could be. It's funny he wouldn't have known that, his password, though, you know, being the son, but I guess he was older.
I mean, you don't know Maddie's password to her phone, nor do I.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
So.
Just a thought.
You just never know these things. I mean, you just really don't.
You don't.
So, with Colton County Detective Laura Ruthlin attesting to the apparent cleanliness of his attire, no traces of blood were observed on his shoes, hands, or any part of his body. Videotape interviews conducted with law enforcement showcased Alex consistently repeating the same timeline of events. According to his account, he had spent time with Paul driving around the property before sharing a meal with both Paul and Maggie. This was the last time he claimed to have seen them. Alex stated that Maggie had proceeded to the dog kennels, located a quarter-mile away from the main house. While Paul departed without revealing his destination, Alex recounted briefly dozing off for approximately 20 minutes while watching television. Upon waking up, Alex expressed his attempt to contact Maggie via phone and text, but received no response. Shortly after 9 p.m., he left to visit his mother, who suffered from Alzheimer's, at her residence in Alameda, a drive of about 20 minutes. Upon returning home to the main house, Alex discovered it to be vacant and subsequently drove down to the kennels in search of Maggie. It was at this moment, a little after 10 p.m., that he stumbled upon the horrific scene, prompting him to immediately contact emergency services by dialing 911 at precisely 10:07 p.m. As the trial progressed, jurors were confronted with the haunting details of the fateful evening, trying to piece together the sequence of events and elevate the credibility of Alex's account. The weight of their deliberation was palpable as they sought to determine the truth amidst the harrowing circumstances surrounding the deaths of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. Week 2 Trial Revelations. The dog kennel video placed Alex Murdaugh at the scene.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun. During the trial, jurors were presented with a videotaped interview conducted on June 10th featuring Alex and SLED agent Jeff Croft and David Owen. The footage captured a poignant moment when Alex broke down in tears and uttered a garbled statement. The video was paused, and prosecutor Walters asked Agent Croft to clarify what Alex had said. In response, meticulously slowed down the audio and questioned whether Croft heard the pronoun they instead of I. While the investigators maintained that Alex said I, a debate ensued in the courtroom and on social media regarding the pronoun used and whether it could be interpreted as an inadvertent confession. The most crucial piece of evidence presented by the prosecution was a video recorded by Paul on his phone at 8:44 p.m. at the dog kennels, just moments before the prosecutors allege he was murdered. The footage depicted Paul's attempt to capture a clear shot of his friend Rogan Gibson's black lab, Cash, focusing specifically on the dog's tail. Prior to this video, Paul had informed Gibson in a phone call 1 minute earlier that he would send a video, which Gibson claimed he never received. However, investigators later discovered the footage on Paul's phone. In the background of the video, a man and a woman whom the prosecutors identified as Alex and Maggie could be heard engaging in banter about a dog with a chicken in its mouth. Gibson and another friend of Paul's, Will Loving, unequivocally identified the male voice as belonging to Alex, stating it was 100% him. Approximately 3 minutes after the video was recorded, at 8:49 p.m., Maggie and Paul's electronic devices went dark, coinciding with the time Walters asserted they were murdered. The video evidence presented appeared to contradict Alex's claims that he had not visited the dog kennels until he discovered the lifeless bodies of his wife and son. This contradiction further added to the complexity of the trial and the task facing the jurors as they assessed the veracity of the testimonies and the evidence presented. The courtroom was abuzz with the discussions and speculation surrounding the significance of these revelations, amplifying the gravity of the trial proceedings. Week 3, Trial Revelations. Bomb threat leading to evacuation.
Seriously?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, it was probably Alex, you know.
That's what I'm thinking.
He's probably hoped they'd get him outside and then he'd run away or something. I don't know. So during the trial, a pivotal moment unfolded when the courthouse was abruptly evacuated due to the bomb threat called in by an unidentified person. The incident, later determined to be a hoax, caused a temporary halt in the proceedings, leaving everyone in suspense. Fortunately, after throughout safety checks, the trial resumed in the afternoon, allowing the jurors to proceed with their duty of hearing the compelling testimony. Throughout the trial, jurors were presented with extensive testimony concerning Alex's alleged financial crimes. The prosecution shed light on the immense pressure he faced, particularly in the relation to the wrongful death lawsuit stemming from the 2019 boat wreck. Witnesses testified about his alleged misappropriations of millions of dollars, not only from his own law firm and clients, but also from his closest friend, leaving him in substantial debt. The revelations painted a vivid picture of the complex financial web that surrounded Alex Murdaugh and his mounting troubles. Crucially, witnesses took the stand to share their encounters with Alex Murdaugh's attempt to manipulate the truth. Shelley Smith, the caretaker of Alex's mother, revealed that he had exerted pressure on her to falsely claim that he had spent a minimum of 45 minutes at his mother's home on the night of the murders. In reality, his visit had been much shorter, lasting only 20 minutes. Similarly, the family's housekeeper testified that Alex had tried to influence her statement by urging her to assert that he had worn a different shirt on the day of the slaying. These testimonies shed light on the lengths to which Alex allegedly went to attempt to construct a false narrative and manipulate the circumstances surrounding the tragic events. As the trial unfolded, the jurors grappled with the weight of this evidence, diligently seeking the truth amidst the complex web of allegations and attempts to deceive. Week 4, Trial Revelations. Prosecution rests. The courtroom atmosphere grew somber as Maggie's older sister, Marion Proctor, took the stand as the first family member to testify. Through tears, she revealed to the jury that Maggie had initially expressed reluctancy to go to Moselle on the night of the murders. However, Alex had summoned her and Paul to the location. Proctor emotionally described how she had urged her sister to support her husband, citing the hospitalization of their father-in-law, Randolph Murdaugh III, earlier that...
Did you say murder again?
No. Randolph... Maybe I did.
I think you did.
Randolph Murdaugh III earlier that day. Despite acknowledging that Alex and Maggie's marriage had its imperfections, Proctor emphasized that they were genuinely happy together. The final prosecution witness SLED, Special Agent Peter Radokofoki. I don't know how to pronounce that. So
I like
I'm
it.
just going to go with that. Meticulously presented a comprehensive timeline spanning the day of the murder, drawing from a wealth of evidence, including GPS coordinates from Alex's Chevy Suburban, phone records, and other data. Radulfsky wove together a narrative of events. Of particular interest was the surprisingly tight timeline that emerged. According to the data, Alex arrived at the dog kennels at precisely 10:07:57 p.m. and less than 20 seconds later at 10:06:14 p.m. he made the harrowing call to 911. However, the prosecution pointed out the inconsistencies in Alex's statement to the dispatcher, where he claimed to have already checked the pulses of Paul and Maggie, whose bodies were 30 feet apart. Radulfsky also unveiled a troubling revelation from 1 month prior to the killings. Paul had confronted his father in a text message about his drug addiction, prompted by Maggie's discovery of a bag of pain pills in Alex's computer bag. In the text, Alex expressed remorse, stating, "I am very sorry that I do this to all of you. I love you." Yet, according to Radowski's testimony, Maggie did not respond to this message. Following 4 weeks of compelling evidence and the testimony of 61 witnesses, the prosecution concluded its case on February 17th. The weight of the evidence presented throughout the trial left the jurors with much to consider as they prepared to deliberate on the truth behind the tragic events that unfolded on that fateful night. Week 5, Murdaugh takes the stand in his own defense. On February 23rd...
He actually testifies?
Yeah.
Doesn't most of the time every lawyer say, don't take the stand?
Typically,
And
yes.
now he's a lawyer and he's taking the stand.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Not listening to their own advice, which I don't think his lawyers wanted him to take the stand.
Probably
either,
not.
On February 23rd, Murdaugh took the stand and admitted to lying about the whereabouts on the night of the murder. He acknowledged that he had deceived investigators, friends, and family by falsely claiming to be with his wife and son at the dog kennels at 8:45 p.m., just minutes before the alleged murders took place. However, he strongly denied any involvement in the killing of his wife and son. Murdaugh attributed his lies to a lack of trust in the investigators and the paranoia fueled by his opiate addiction, revealing that he had a bag of drugs in his possession that night. Once he started down the path of deceit, he felt compelled to continue the charade, as he quoted the famous line from Sir Walter Scott, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave." Despite the lies, Murdaugh asserted that he had fully cooperated with investigators, aside from his falsehoods. He shifted the blame for the slayings onto vigilantes who he suggested were driven by online speculation about the boat wreck case and sought to exact revenge on his family. During an exhaustive 2-day cross-examination, prosecutors Walters relentlessly questioned a viable, fatigued Murdaugh about the inconsistent statements. Walters highlighted the contradictions between Murdaugh's claim that he had checked the pulse of Maggie and Paul before calling 911 and the GPS data from his Chevy Suburban, which indicated he had made the call just 19 seconds after arriving at the scene. Murdaugh revised his story once again, now asserting that he had checked their pulses while on the phone with 911. Walters accused Murdaugh of repeatedly crafting new stories to align with the facts, to which Murdaugh denied the assertion. In the defense's case, 13 additional witnesses were called to testify. Among them was a ballistics expert who testified that the trajectory of the shots that killed Maggie indicated that the assailant was no taller than 5'4". A crime scene analyst further informed the jury that the shot that killed Paul was a contact wound to the back of the head, which would have caused injuries from flying pellets and resulted in the shooter being covered in blood. These testimonies aimed to cast doubt on the Murdaugh's alleged involvements in the killings and provided alternative explanations for the crime. As the trial continued, the jury was left with the difficult task of sifting through the conflicting testimonies and evidence to determine the truth behind this deeply disturbing and tragic case. Week 6, summarizations, conviction, and sentencing. During his closing arguments, prosecutor Walters portrayed Murdaugh as a cunning con man, attempting to deceive the jurors when he took the stand. He emphasized Murdaugh's history of lying and his ease in fabricating new falsehoods. When confronted with unexpected challenges, Walters highlighted the gravity of Murdaugh's deception, particularly regarding crucial facts in the case. In contrast, defense attorney Griffin contended in his summations that the investigators had failed miserably in their investigation and missed the opportunity to identify the real killer. He criticized their handling of the case, suggested that a thorough and proper investigation could have led to a different outcome. After deliberating for less than 3 hours on March 2nd, the jury reached a unanimous guilty verdict. The jurors had endured a grueling 6-week trial and listened to the testimonies of 76 witnesses, all while being compensated only $20 a day. Jeez. Remarkably, they did not pose any questions to the judge or seek clarification during the swift deliberations. On March 3rd, Murdaugh received his sentence of life in prison, marking the culmination of his disgraceful and spectacular downfall, which had single-handedly destroyed his family's legacy. Judge Clifton Newman admonished Murdaugh for his wicked deeds and duplicitous conduct. Before delivering 2 consecutive life sentences, Newman acknowledged that even if Murdaugh continued to deny his guilt publicly, he would have to confront the consequences of his actions within his own soul. The judge remarked on the haunting presence of Paul and Maggie in Murdaugh's thoughts, suggesting that their memory would continue to haunt him in his moments of reflection and sleep. In the end, the trial concluded with a powerful sense of justice being served, but it also left behind a shattered family, a community in shock, and a haunting legacy of tragedy and deceit. And that's my story, folks.
Wow, you did such a great job of breaking that down, because there is so much, for lack of a better term, shit involved with that case and that family. And
that ain't even really all of it.
No, it's not.
There's still the ongoing financial crimes, also an appeal out there to try to get him out of prison.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
Because why should he have to do his time?
I haven't looked into anything further, but that was the last thing that I read, is that they were filing a motion with the courts. So, but that's all I got for you.
Oh, great job. That was it. I applaud you. That is a tough one to tackle, and you did amazing at it.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right.
Well, until next time, we love you.
Time. Smell you later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.